You cannot speed up God's timing. No matter how much you're looking for that perfect man or woman of God, no matter how hard you try to work on your own, it cannot speed up God's timing. Because God cannot harm you by giving you that blessing. He knows if you get it too early, you're just going to turn away from him. You're not going to steward it like you would if you would just be patient. That's why you need to stop trusting in your own strength and start trusting more in God. Stop trusting your own cleverness and start trusting in God's wisdom. In Proverbs chapter 23, verse 4, it says, "Do not wear yourself out trying to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness." If we try to trust our own cleverness, that's when we start to get anxious. That's when we start to get stressed, because we know in ourselves we can fail. We can fail on our own. But if we have God by our side, we can't fail. If we put God first instead of trusting our own cleverness, we can't fail, because God will never fail us. And I know you're probably wondering, like, how can I stop working so hard and just trust God? What does that actually look like? Well, the best way I can explain it is with the story. And in this story, there was a man who just wanted to be rich. He wanted to prove everybody else wrong. He wanted to be that man that just had materialistic things, the Beamers, the nice house, the nice car, so he can flex in front of people. And so he spent day in, day out, didn't talk to nobody if it wasn't about money. Didn't read his word, didn't even mention God, didn't even pray to God at all. And so a year later of cutting everybody off and just focusing on what he wanted to have, he got where he wanted to be. He got the materialistic things, he got the nice house. And so he started celebrating, he started going out, he started doing different things. And he enjoyed them for a while, but it started to get boring to him. It started to become unfulfilling. And even after that, his business started to go down. Wasn't doing as good. He got to the point where he had to close down his business. And then he was just left unfulfilled. He didn't have anyone to go to, anyone to run to. All his friends cut him off because they wanted him just because of the money. And he was just left alone. And I say that because, yes, if you overwork, you might get to the point where you're rich. You might get to the point where you got a lot of cars. You might get to the point where you got the nice woman. But at the end of the day, you will end up being unfulfilled. And nothing is certain in this life. You might not even get to the point where you end up being rich. You might have to go through all that stress, all that anxiety, all that cutting off your friends, cutting off the loved ones, and not even be able to enjoy the temporary things on this earth, because the life on this earth is temporary. Life with God is eternal. Some people are in unfortunate situations where they have to work hard. They aren't working hard to get rich. They are working hard to provide for people. That's why the word says don't overwork to be rich, because overworking to be rich is just for the fleshly and materialistic things. But if you're working hard for your family or your loved ones, you will still want to spend time with them. You won't cut them off just for the money and the riches. You will do it because you love them. And that's the most important part. What is your intention? Are you doing it because you're trying to speed up God's timing, or are you doing it because you actually need to provide for your family? And that's the same thing with relationships or anything. Say that person in the story was seeking for a relationship. So he was going to churches, he was going to malls, trying to find different women. And so a woman hit him up and said she was Christian, and he just fell for it right away. So he thought she was the one. And so they started conversating a little bit. And even though she seemed a little bit lukewarm, he still went along with it just because he wanted a woman. And they were dating for a while, and he found out that she was cheating on him. I say that because that's how fast things can be taken away when you try to do things on your own. Instead, what they should do in those situations is just to be patient. Yes, if God tells you to work on something, go ahead and work on it. Don't stress. Make sure you have rest days. Make sure you're spending time with family. Also, when you're working, make sure that work doesn't interfere with your time with God. Yes, you should still be working towards your goals, working towards what you want to do in life, but don't overwork trying to be successful, trying to be rich, because if you just trust God and wait on his timing, he's going to bring you to where you want to be. And that's exactly why the word says, seek the kingdom and all its righteousness, and everything else shall be added on to you. Because once you start seeking God, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't look too good in the future, even when you're going through trials and tribulations, that's when God will start to give you everything you want and need. So y'all stay blessed.